Left off with Spike gets injured in the same place. We're
Spike is
back.
injured?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
Had a minor technical difficulty. Apologies for the John show for about half of that last video.
Well, thank you for taking over
Mhm.
because, again, my technology hates me.
Mhm.
But we've established this. I
So
feel
I
like
guess
I'm orange again.
no, you're fine. You're fine. As I was saying, we left off with Spike gets injured in the same place all the time.
Oh, uh, um, Leandre wrote me. He said that he is on the train home, I think. So, or I'm on the train, yeah.
On
Mhm.
the train home.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's continue episode 20.
Mhm.
Um, so Spike keeps getting injured in the same place. That's what we were saying, right?
Yeah.
That's better. Okay. So, and we're talking about Pierrot Le Fou.
Mhm.
Pierrot Le Fou is actually a movie that
Oh.
is a French movie by Jean-Luc Godard.
Ah.
And in the movie, it's basically all about this guy who is been like made to think that this girl is in love with him, but in reality, she's not.
Mhm.
And she uses him all the way up until as much as she can. Actually,
Yeah.
he ends up leaving his wife and his kid, and he ends up going from like a happy life to having this crazy outlaw life.
Ah.
And he ends up killing her and her boyfriend. If that's, I
Explains
like,
why they named him that.
yeah, it makes sense when you think about that.
Yeah.
Um, so Pierre LeFou is this crazy psychopathic killer, and
Mhm.
he's an assassin. He works for the syndicate. We find
Mhm.
out that he's one of the people that they hire to just get rid of people.
Well, he was initially an experiment by
Yes,
the
yes,
police, by the ISS.
yes, yes. Yeah. Initially, he was an experiment, and then he became like a part of the syndicate. So, long story short, I like you were mentioning, the beginning of it is very film noir, like old school Batman.
Yeah.
I also thought of I could see a lot of references. That's what I was bringing up before I got cut off.
Mhm.
Was that I can see a lot of references from other anime and other TV shows that kind of fit that trope, if you will.
Okay.
Um, and we also were talking about how Spike had that very intense, desperate look to
Mhm.
him when he's fighting Piero, because nothing kills Piero, and he shoots him. He sees the bullets like
Mhm.
escape his body. He puts him into a fire, and he just walks out of the fire, and he floats, which is really weird. Like he's just floating around in,
Mhm.
so he can't even, he's even hard to shoot because he's floating around so much. So yeah, and that smile was
Mhm.
really creepy.
Yes. It's kind of um,
Yeah, go ahead, do it again so people freak out.
doesn't quite
um
work with as well with the overplay, but you get the idea.
yeah. Oh crap. Wait. My computer's going crazy again. All right, so now I think that made it worse. I was trying to figure out like why I look so orange,
That's
but
better.
that's not really helping me. Okay,
But
so
I did notice that when Spike was all bandaged up, he looked
mhm.
very sort of generic anime male. You know, you take away the hair, and he looks. The face is kind of generic.
I didn't really think, his hair I think is green in this too.
Well, his hair is always green. It's just really obvious in this one.
Yes, yes, it is definitely obvious in this one, which I think is funny going with the whole
Well,
Batman.
yeah. And earlier,
So he's
in
kind of got that Joker
yeah,
esque.
in an earlier hangout, I said he looks kind of like the Joker, and you can really see it in this one.
Yeah, for sure. Um, also, so where are we? Okay, so in episode 20, Spike gets, so now, sorry, we have the fight, then
Mhm.
Spike gets an email on the ship that's inviting him to go to Spaceland, and Piero is going to have a party
Yeah,
at
it's a
Spaceland
theme
for
park.
Huh?
It's a theme park. Just
It's
explain
a
it.
theme park. So, Spaceland is kind of like Piero's little domain
It's his
of.
hideout.
Yes, it's his
Much,
hideout.
much
So,
like another Batman reference, the Joker tends to hide out in old abandoned, amusement parks and whatnot.
mhm,
And the fight definitely reminded me a lot of the Joker because he used all of these toys and these,
right.
theme park attractions as
Mhm.
weapons.
So it's funny because there's a couple of anime that came out around this time that have similar parts. Like there is Boogie Pop Phantom that I was telling you about, and the character is Poom Poom,
Mhm.
and Poom Poom is like this Pied Piper looking kid, and he just like comes around and he brings this theme park to life, and it's all about him wanting people to play with him. Like it's all about him wanting attention, wanting love, wanting some sort of experience and something, and
Mhm.
he just sees like people as his people to play with. So,
Yeah,
and he brings this theme park to life.
of course.
But anyway, I won't go further into
Well, I can
it.
see the similarities, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And I picked up on that, and then there's another anime. I don't remember exactly. It's further later on in the years that it came out, but Ergo Proxy. And there is a scene in Ergo, or an episode in Ergo Proxy of Smile Land. And in Smile Land, the guy, oh, I don't want to give it away, but anyway, he owns Smileland, and all he wants to do is have people play and have a good time, and he uses toys the same way, to kind of play but be almost like terrorizing,
Okay.
the people that come into Smileland. So it's got a lot of similar
Yeah.
references there.
All very influenced by the Joker.
Yeah, exactly. So, we are. So, Spike
I
goes to Smileland
Yeah,
or
yeah. Or
Spaceland.
Spaceland, yeah,
Yeah, and he is bombarded by all these toys
yeah.
that are, coming to life and attacking him. And
Now, meanwhile, Jet is meeting with an old cop buddy who is explaining all of this about the super soldier, explaining basically the backstory about the super soldier program and where LeFou comes from.
mhm.
And
And
then he has Ed hack into the records to find out more specifics about him. And
yes.
when they get into LeFou's backstory, his specific story, I
Mhm.
loved the music. And again, it's Bebop. Always go back to the music with Bebop.
So
But it
I
was
have a question for
so
you.
that music cue when they first explain it, it's so Pink Floyd. It sounds like
Yes.
On the Run
I'm
off
so
the Dark
happy that
Side.
you said it because I was like, oh, it's On the Run, Dark Side of the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
Like do 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 do
Yeah,
do
it's that
do
keyboard patch that
do. Yeah. I was sitting there. I was going like, oh my god, they used Dark Side of the Moon as like a
it's not exactly On the Run. It's just Yoko
similar.
Kanno's version of On the Run.
Yeah. Yeah. It's similar. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I as soon as I heard that I said, oh yeah, Dark Side of the Moon. So the when we're getting into Piero's backstory, Piero basically was a super soldier who was like an experiment gone bad. So when the experiment went bad, the labs technicians and the scientists and everything were like, well, you know what? Screw it. Let's just get rid of this guy, put him into quarantine, and that's it. Like we're just not going to deal with him
Right.
anymore.
They
And they forgot about him.
they basically threw him away. And what
Right.
they explain is that even though he has all of this tremendous power, psychologically, he's a child.
Yes, because the experiment was all about, it also had a regression factor to it.
Yeah.
So it was continuously bringing him further and further back from adulthood towards more of a infantile child toddler like status,
Yeah.
which is where we see as the ended solution of the episode when they explain that Jet says a child with superhuman combat capabilities, and really there's nothing more pure and
Or
cruel.
cruel as a child. I have it in my notes as well.
So when Jet says that and Spike is fighting him, Spike figures out that this is like a game for Piero.
Yeah.
And once but what throws Piero off is the cat. Because the cat,
which they established in the initial fight in the alley,
yes,
in the beginning of the episode, that Piero is extremely phobic of cats.
Yes. So once he has that exposure to the cat and he sees the cat, that's it. He freaks out. He pretty much loses all composure of his terrorizing self, and Spike sees an opportunity to take advantage. Spike is able to hit him with a knife, and when he hits him, Piero goes down like a screaming, crying child.
Which is a nice reference to, and I don't remember exactly where I saw this, but it's been done a couple times in science fiction, where you have a force field that it reacts to the velocity at which something is coming at it. So if you try to send a missile, a bullet, something like that through it, it'll stop it, but you can put something through it slowly.
Yeah.
So early in the episode, Spike tries to shoot Piero, and he's got some kind of force field on him. It stopped the bullet. But he can get the knife through because the knife is moving a lot slower.
Right. So that was pretty much it. And then Spike says at the end, "Man, I hate theme parks." So, and I just said, you know what, Spike, I do too.
Now, in this episode and the next one common theme I noticed is Ed is getting really annoying in both of them. And I like Ed. Like I said before, Ed's my second favorite character.
In the next 3 episodes, Ed is really more vocal than Ed really has ever been.
That's true.
And Ed is saying, like, I'm like, oh my God, Ed, shut up. Like,
yes.
Why are you singing such nonsense? Like, Ed was saying something about when Piero, what was it that she says? I'm trying to find it in my notes, but I wrote something down that she keeps like saying long head la 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 like and just like stupid, and then it continues on in episode 21, it continues on in episode 22, and I'm just looking at it and going like, all right, Edward, like we get it, like you are a child, but come on, well,
but they're also
out.
Working up toward not to give any spoilers away, because I've watched up through 26, because I wasn't sure if you were going to want to double up.
Okay.
So I planned ahead.
Don't go ahead, because we have to transition from here.
Well, yeah, but it kind of works towards something happening in 24. I'll just say that.
Yeah. So let's go on to episode 21. And in episode 21, this is the Feng Shui Master. And basically what we'll give you an overview of it is that Jet had an old friend who was a Feng Shui Master. Jet gets this weird, bizarre message that says, meet the beast of Anzong, where the 4 gods meet, and he's like, I don't even know what the hell that means. So he said, well, only kind of one person that would know that, and he goes to find him, but the guy is dead or something. And then he has this little girl who's with him, but she's not really little. She's
she's a teenager, I think.
Yeah, or 20-something, who knows.
Okay.
So
she was under, I think they strongly implied that she was under 18.
Was it? Because, okay.
There are assumptions about her, and Faye and Spike make some assumptions about her and Jet.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was thinking, well, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe it's like a lolly thing.
Well, so, they're thinking that the two of them are together, and Jet makes it very clear that, and he does it that they're, he's just a friend's daughter. She's just an old friend's daughter, and he does it in such a way that I got the impression she was underage, and he wanted to make it abundantly clear that that was not what was going
Ah, see, I like that you caught that because I was thinking,
on.
Jet at one point kind of like plays with the idea a
Well,
little bit. He
there
says
is.
something.
We're
He
getting a
says,
little
if
ahead.
anything, I could be your boyfriend.
Yes, and I'm
And then she looks at him and then he says, well, I mean, you're your brother.
brother, and I'm wondering if that was a slip, yeah, like a Freudian slip or not.
Maybe
Mhm.
that was what he was thinking in his mind was like, oh,
But
she's really cute,
mhm.
And
Just to get back to the recap, he finds the daughter at the grave, and they get chased by a syndicate, and little by little have to track down her father, who turns out to be alive.
yeah. So, and when they are being chased by the syndicate, um, Jet develops more of a relationship with Pow's daughter.
Yeah.
She begins to trust him more, even though 'cause she was like, well, I don't even know who my father is. He never really hung out with me. He never really explained anything to me. So, but she trusts Jet, and she decides to go on this adventure essentially, because
Mhm.
she is all after this sunstone, and the sunstone is the like origins of all feng shui or something to that effect, and
Which
it's kind
turns
of
out
like
to be a piece of the moon that was landed on Earth when the gate exploded.
yes, and long story short, I didn't have a whole lot of notes in
Uh,
this
this
because
one
I just
was,
felt kind of like it was a filler episode.
yeah, exactly. This one,
I
and
felt like,
this is really. I've criticized another episode for being the weakest, but this is just kind of. It's not the weakest episode, but it's just kind of there.
I
Very
feel
much.
like, yeah, this episode for me, I was like, I don't really get it. It doesn't
Yeah.
really help me with the story. It doesn't really
No.
give me more of anything. I mean, if anything, it kind of tells you a little bit more that the Syndicate had a feng shui master.
Yeah.
But what is the point? Like, there's
Mhm.
no real point to feng shui master being in the Syndicate
No.
with
No.
that. And,
I
I
think
was
they
like,
just needed to fill out 26, and they would just didn't have anything better to do for this one.
so they were like, you know what? Let's just do some
Hmm.
ode to like Chinese feng shui.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I have to ask though, because when they get to Sunstone, they're examining it on the ship, and I gotta ask, how do a bunch of bounty hunters have all of this scientific equipment to examine this piece of rock?
So I was thinking the same thing. Like,
Because
how do they know all this stuff about feng shui? How do they know all this like scientific information when they're going into the magnetic field is being affected and all of
yeah.
that, and Spike says something, and I looked at myself and I was like, but how does Spike know?
Mhm.
You know?
A former mob hitman basically, and he knows all about this.
Well, it makes me feel like they maybe, okay, let's say this. Maybe education space,
Mhm. Well,
in
it is. It is.
Mars
Mhm.
or Jupiter or whatever, like
Yeah.
maybe the education system is so much better
Well,
because
that does
they're in
explain.
space.
That does account for the scientific knowledge.
Right.
I don't know if necessarily it would give them a familiarity with feng shui. Then again, that could be cultural. Um, they've never established where they're all from.
Maybe it's
Where
like
what ethnicity
maybe
they
it's
are.
like Stargate. In Stargate how you have because you think about it, like in Stargate you have all the different cultures and different
Yeah,
peoples and everything. So because we all were colonized, you
yeah,
Stargate, so you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
But we all were colonized throughout space
Mhm.
via the gates.
Right.
So you have some knowledge of different ethnicities or
Mhm.
different cultures, so maybe it's something to that effect. That's what
Possibly.
I think because there's so many different
Mhm.
planets
Yeah.
that they refer to and so many different solar systems and the way that they like hype jump and everything.
Mhm.
So maybe part of school is a requirement for you to have some knowledge
Well,
of
other
different.
cultures, yeah.
Yeah, that
Or
would.
it could be that. Could be kind of a Firefly thing where maybe Asia has a stronger influence in the human colonies.
Maybe.
Yeah, but
So,
not even that. Only other point I had on this one is that the actress who played Mayfa, at least in the dub, I'm watching the dub for this one,
uh-huh.
not really up to the show's usual standard. It was like,
I
one of
was
the producers' kids got
exact same thing.
brought in.
I actually thought Mifa was the most boring dub
Mhm.
character that the show has put out yet.
Yeah.
Like I was like, Mayfa, I just want you to shut up. I'd rather listen to Edward and Ein
Yeah.
talk to each other
Oh
and
yeah.
like
Mhm.
I was getting really annoyed with her.
Yeah.
And also I felt that um just the whole story of Mayfa, I'm like, who cares? What is
Yeah.
who the hell cares about your deal? Like
Mhm.
I understand Jed is like trying to help you, but you're kind of bratty.
Mhm. Yeah.
I was just like, you're a bratty little bitch. Shut up.
What I'm basically saying here is, I think we're both basically saying, if you haven't quite caught up on the show, if you're still, if you haven't gotten to this episode yet, just skip it.
Yeah, it's
You
garbage.
don't miss
Don't even
anything.
freaking watch it. Like I don't
You
even get
you
it.
won't miss anything in terms of the story. The Sunstone is a piece of the Earth or piece of the Moon from the explosion. That's the only interesting thing in this episode, I think.
You
It
know,
gets into the lore of it.
we're totally insulting like Shinichiro Watanabe, and I mean,
He created a masterpiece, no doubt.
okay, in the holistic sense,
Yeah,
it is a masterpiece.
it is it lives up to, in my opinion. Now watching it again, having seen the whole series,
Mm-hmm.
it absolutely lives up to best animated
I,
series ever made.
yes, yeah,
But
I second
everyone's but everyone's hit or miss, and he just
that. Yeah,
he missed on this one.
for me, I think this is the worst episode.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
had no. I mean, I don't even feel
Mhm.
anything for it.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
I
I
was
said that
like,
about a previous one, but that one, it was a story of how Jet lost his arm. I think that was the episode
that one
that
was
I said
good.
was kind
That
of
was
predictable, and
interesting.
it was interesting, but it was kind of predictable. I didn't love it. This is that this this episode makes that look like fallen angels.
All right, so let's move
On
on.
to 22.
So I love the preview, by the way,
Mhm.
of 22 with
Yeah.
the sci-fi spaghetti western epic
Mhm.
saga, and that's what Jet's saying. And then he's like, "Aren't we done taking this like cowboy thing a little too far?"
Mhm.
Which
Yeah.
is really funny
Mhm.
because episode 22, it's like
Mhm.
I thought of it as Spike's cowboy brother, like
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, because essentially what we get, and I'll do a quick overview of
Mhm.
22. There is a bomber named Teddy Bomber, which I thought was
Mhm.
awesome, like Teddy Bear the Bomber.
Well,
So
actually, I
uh,
think it was a reference to the Unabomber, but
yeah, I wonder around that time.
quite a bit before. It was a few years before. It was 95. I
Yeah,
looked it up
yeah,
just to make sure.
yeah,
So he was definite because the Unabomber was Ted Kaczynski,
yeah, exactly. Oh,
so it had to be a
awesome.
reference to the Unabomber. But
Yeah.
I also thought, are you familiar with the Tick?
With which one? The Tick? Yes.
The Mad Bomber what bombs at midnight?
Which one?
The Mad Bomber what bombs at midnight?
Uh-huh.
That's who I thought of with this guy.
That's good. You should post that
Mhm.
in the
Yeah. I'll
community.
see if I can find a clip. Yeah.
Yeah, if you find a good clip of it. So basically, there is this bomber who is going around and just blowing stuff up. He doesn't like killing people. He doesn't kill
Mhm.
people. That's not his
He's out to make a political statement.
right. And Spike is going after him. And when Spike is going after him, this random guy on a horse with a cowboy hat just happens to show up.
Mhm.
And instead of trying to go after the bomber, he starts going after Spike, saying that
Mhm.
he's the outlaw, which is really funny because we know Spike is the bounty hunter. So anyhow, this continues, and Spike is pretty pissed about it because he's like, not only did you screw up my hunt, you also tried to come after me. So he's not very happy about it. And they figure another way to get the bomber, and it's at a masquerade ball. So that masquerade ball, they're all dressed up. It's very funny.
Love
Jet is
Jet's
dressed.
costume as a hippie. Yes, it was hilarious.
Jet, of all people, is wearing a marijuana leaf T-shirt
With his long black wig.
threads, and it was ridiculous. And Faye is wearing this like lady dress, which is really funny too. And Faye is swept off her feet by this cowboy character. He shows up, and of course the bomber guy shows up. He dressed as but a giant teddy bear, which is even funnier because that's his name, Teddy the Bomber. So then we have Faye swept off her feet by this cowboy, and I think more than anything, Faye just wanted to get to figure out what it is that is pissing off Spike so much, because she's like, clearly, what is it that she tells him? It's really funny. I can't remember. I don't remember
But basically, as you've mentioned several times, Spike never loses his cool.
Yeah.
Until this episode.
Yes.
So she has to see the thing that is making Spike lose his cool.
Yes. So did you think it was funny? Because when we are watching Spike fight, like the extension kick that he has cracked me up, because I don't know if you saw, but what I posted for Happy Friday was a meme, or actually it was a gif of Roberta, and she is from Black Lagoon. We're gonna do that. We have to do Black Lagoon. And she kicks, and she ends up, she has a knife in her shoe. And boom, she kicks the guy. It was pretty awesome. But anyway, so it made me think of Spike because of the extension.
Well, yeah, because Spike, as I've mentioned before, he gets a little rubber when he fights.
Yes.
He hyperextends in places that you really shouldn't be able to hyperextend.
Clearly. So, and then we've got Andy showing up. The guy's name is Andy.
Andy is the cowboy bounty hunter, and I don't just mean cowboy in the series context, but literally horse, cowboy hat, whole nine. As a Zappa fan, I love that his name is Andy. There's a Frank Zappa song called Andy. The one line of lyric, "Is there anything good inside of you? I really want to know."
I actually, the thing that I thought of with Andy was when he says, "Reach for the sky." I thought of Toy Story.
Yes.
You know, Woody, one of his preset statements or whatever is "reach for the sky," you know? And I just thought that was hilarious, and I was like, "What? I wonder if they got that from there." Maybe not, but... it was
well, I think it's kind of a cliche of the old cowboy movies. You know, when you point a gun at somebody, reach for the sky.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe that was just the cliche bit.
This episode has probably the best chase scene in the entire series.
Yes! Did you write... Okay, so I love that we have a chase between the swordfish, a horse, and like a Corvette. Or like a
car.
Top down. Yeah, car.
Sports car.
Yes. I thought that was hilarious.
Yes.
And the fact that Teddy the Bomber is wearing a teddy bear costume. You got a cowboy with full cowboy garb with his horse, and Faye is wearing this like Western style dress, like a little damsel in distress, and Spike is in his swordfish. Like, it is the best scene I think I've ever seen.
Not just a great chase scene, but just thoroughly surreal for the way it's all set up.
It's ridiculous. I've never seen anything like that.
And did you catch the mid-episode splash screen?
Yes.
You know what they were referencing?
No, what was it?
Flash Gordon. It was the old
That's
Flash
what
Gordon
it
logo.
was. Yes, I was sitting there going like, I've seen this, I've seen this, I've seen this. Where have I seen this before? And I couldn't remember.
Hmm.
But that made okay. That nice because I pointed it out to myself and I said,
Hmm.
"Where is this from?" And I didn't have time to research it.
Now,
But
second half of the episode, Spike and Andy start sort of trying to work together, and they're camping out effectively, and Andy prepares some food that he says will quote unquote blaze a trail.
you're saying Spike and Andy, or you mean Spike and Faye?
Isn't it? Was it?
It was
Oh,
Spike and
Spike and
Faye.
Faye. That was it. You're
Yeah,
right. You're right.
Faye
You're right.
got swept off her feet,
Yeah.
unintentionally so. She ends
I
up in Andy's like,
right.
you know, and he's sitting there trying to woo her, and he has his son of a gun stew.
But
And
I just the line it will blaze a trail. I wouldn't eat anything that someone said would blaze a trail.
yeah, if that somebody gave you that and be like, yeah, you're gonna blaze a trail with this, I think I would probably stay away from that.
No,
I mean, blaze a trail for the bathroom? Is that what you're
that's
trying to
exactly what I'm
like?
thinking. Yes.
You're gonna be running for the toilet? I don't know
Mhm.
if I feel comfortable about that.
Particularly the word blaze. That suggests a great deal of pain.
yeah. I don't know. That son of a gun stew didn't look very appetizing to me. And Faye, I love that Faye was just sitting there going like, "Oh my God, what is going on with this guy?" And she is a terrible liar, like an absolute terrible liar, sitting there going like, "Oh, this is wonderful. You make great drinks. I'm having a great time.
and,
This tastes delicious." Her face.
and I'm kind of wondering if she really was falling for him or if she was just trying to cover her bets on the bounty.
I think I
Because
think
she
if
knows she's getting a piece of it if Spike gets it, and she just wanted to cover herself either way.
no, I think it's more that she really just wanted to know what was getting under Spike's skin.
That's a good point too. Yeah, yeah.
Because she couldn't she said, well, he's cute, right?
Mhm.
When they find out that he is in the Young
Mhm.
Cowboy Association, which I thought was hilarious because it kind of reminds me of the Young Republicans Association or something.
Alright.
For some reason, when I heard that, I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, okay, I can see that. So, and he gets kicked out of it, which is even funnier.
Mhm.
So, and mind you, this is like this guy. He kind of reminds me of George Bush.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because he's a cowboy who doesn't want to face responsibilities. Like his daddy is
Mhm.
the owner of this ranch. The Aniata family is very famous throughout space,
Mhm.
and they have this ranch. And so he wants to buck his responsibility, and he instead of going into being a responsible adult, he decides to play cowboys and Indians and go out in space and be a bounty hunter.
Mhm.
What do you have to say?
No, I was just I just realized I missed something in my notes. Just at the very beginning of the episode, when
Uh-huh.
Spike comes back and he's talking about Andy and how telling the story about how this cowboy showed up at this when he was going after this bounty. Faye
Mm-hmm.
and Jet start critiquing his story, like it would be better if you changed this or added this detail. Love
Right,
that.
because they don't believe him. They're like,
But not
that's
only do they not believe him, they start critiquing him and like criticizing his story. I just loved that.
and then they said, well, you know what? We wouldn't believe you, but then he shows his back and he has the horseshoe prints,
Yeah.
and that was hilarious. I love that. So basically, Spike has got this guy under his skin. He's really upset about it. He's really frustrated, and Faye, finds out more about Mr. Cowboy. Then she comes back and says, like, well, I brought presents, and what is it that she brings back but son of a gun stew? And Spike says, like, no thanks, I'd rather, like, starve.
Mhm.
So, and Faye says, well, that personality is way too familiar. When she's
Mhm.
with Andy, it's very funny because she points out that he reminds her a lot of Spike. And Spike is also like, no, I'm nothing like that guy. No way. So he gets all upset about it, and then Big Shot TV comes on, and of course Teddy. Whoa! So it's even funnier. Okay, so Teddy is frustrated because in the middle of his monologuing about why he's bombing everything at the masquerade ball,
Mhm.
nobody's listening to him. They're just like taken back by this random cowboy showing up, and he's like, "I'm talking here," and that's when he decides that he's gonna blow everything up.
He
And
doesn't really give his manifesto till the end of the episode. I think it was to Faye.
no, it was
Was it
not
to
to
Faye?
Faye. It was to the police
Oh,
officer
that's
who
right.
was with him in the wagon.
Because she kind of talks him down, and then yeah, after when he's taken away, that's when you finally find out what his you know, deal is.
Yes. So he sets up this whole trap essentially because he knows that these two guys are going to come, and he wants them to. And they're trying to figure out. Big Shot says, "Oh, he's going to blow up something, but he doesn't want to tell you what it is. And there's a whole letter about this, but we don't have any more time. So good luck." And Edward, of course, figures it out, and she's like, "Well, yeah, of course, this is what he's going to blow up." So Edward figures it out. Spike says, "I'm going to be there." And when he shows up, Teddy is talking, and Teddy is telling him, "You're late." Not only are you late, but now you have to listen to like my whole spiel. And he's like, "Look, I'm not a big person for killing people. It's not my thing. But you brought this on you, and you're late." And Spike is like, "I don't really care." And he hears whistling, and he stops and looks, and he's like, "Wait a second."
But it was a different whistling than usually precedes Andy's entrance.
Yes, and all it is that he's doing there, he doesn't even really care about the bounty, clearly. He's much more interested in tackling Andy head on and confronting him.
Yeah.
So when he hears the whistle and then he sees the horse, everything just stops for Spike. He doesn't care anymore about the bounty. And of course, because he doesn't care anymore about the bounty, and they become more and more alike. There's actually, what is it? That he said, Andy says, "You're always," and Spike says at the same time, "always butting in." So they're talking and finishing each other's sentences, which is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
And then the bomber says, "Well, you know what? You guys are made for each other. I put you in this elevator car. Good luck. Sorry. Enjoy the rest of your lives. You're gonna die." And as they're in the elevator car, of course, they both had the same great idea of reverting the access codes. So they actually,
So effectively, one changed it, the other changed it back.
yes. So they actually end up screwing themselves in the process. And of course, they decide they're going to try and get out of the elevator car, but they're both pushing to get out of the elevator car at the same time. So they can't quite fit, which is really funny. And it was even funnier to me because Faye and Jet are watching them, and they say that they're climbing like a couple of monkeys as they're climbing up the building, trying to like race each other to the top for whatever reason. And I thought to myself, like, why are they even shooting at each other? They're not even adversaries. They're not even like fighting each other for a real reason.
It was pride.
Yeah, just because they're like, "Well, no, I'm more like myself, and you're not like me."
You said it was on top of the building later in the episode when they stopped caring about the bounty. No, it was when I think it was when Andy showed up at the masquerade party. That's when Spike stopped caring about the bounty, and it became about competing with Andy.
Yes, I agree with you. I think once Andy showed up, he kind of was just there, and all of the attention went to this character, and he's like, "Well, that's not cool. He's taking away from like the whole situation here, and nobody takes away from Spike," type of thing, So it's definitely a I'm bigger than you type of thing.
It's a pissing contest, yes.
Yeah, it's a pissing contest.
As much as I see the similarities, of course, but I was still on Spike's side for the entire episode. I couldn't stand Andy.
I couldn't either. I just wanted him to shoot him. I
I
was
just
just
wanted to
like,
like kick his ass.
I know. I wish I wanted him to do one of his like super extension, wah, kick him in the face and be
Hmm.
done with it. His
Yeah.
hat come flying off. And so
Unfortunately, we don't get that.
no, we don't. We actually get them fighting, and
Mm.
then Andy just gives up. Andy just says, "You know what, Spike, you're the real cowboy.
Yeah.
I'm the imitation." He gives him his cowboy hat and says, "Here you go, partner. See you, space cowboy," which I love because that's you know.
And I don't exactly remember what happened, but I have in my notes. I was glad to see Andy retire until the ending. He came back at the ending. Like, refresh my memory. How did he come back?
Uh, he comes back like a douchebag.
Well, that's needless to say, but it was
He comes back like
specifically.
a super douchebag.
Mhm.
Like he shows up. Okay, so we finally know why Teddy Bomber is
Mhm.
been trying to blow stuff up, and
Right.
he's kind of like Tyler Durden
Mhm.
from Fight Club,
Yeah.
where he thinks that blowing things up, like uh, government buildings and that sort of thing, is going to bring people towards an awakening,
Yeah.
and you realize that all this crap is useless and all of these governments are doing nothing for us and everything's corrupt and la la
Mhm.
la la la. And we get that whole monologuing bit from him.
Mhm.
But before he can even finish,
Mhm.
we see Andy writing next to him, and he's like, "Hold on," and he's writing, and then he says, "Oh, Andy." He says, "No, Musashi is
Oh,
his name."
that's right. He comes
So
back
now
as
he
because there's
became a samurai.
that was yes, I remember now because earlier in the episode when they're critiquing him, when Jet and Faye are critiquing the story, Jet says he should have been a samurai.
Yes, yes, and that was a great
Mhm.
way just to finish it off.
And Musashi was a great reference. There was a legendary samurai named Musashi who wrote the Book of Five Rings, which is for a
Yes.
swordsman is sort of the must read for anyone who owns a katana, basically.
It's actually it's very interesting.
Oh yeah,
I've heard some of it on audio
I,
books.
I own a
It,
copy.
it's really there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
collect swords, so
You what?
I collect swords, so of course it
Oh,
had to be something I
cool.
bought.
Oh, that's awesome. One
Mhm.
day you should show a sword. That would be cool. Ah, nice. That is so cool.
So, of course have to fix that. Scabbard is
That's
a little touchy, so
awesome.
I'll fix that when we're done.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
Do you like do like Yado or
Well, haven't studied anything formally, and I have to adapt slightly. I actually don't know if this has come up. I'm in a wheelchair.
huh?
I'm in a wheelchair. I don't know if that's ever come up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I have to adapt slightly. With well, a bigger sword. Something
Yeah.
like a Chinese war sword or something smaller, I'm fine with. But something like a katana, I have to be a little, unique with because I don't have the height.
Oh, I see. I
Mhm.
see. That's interesting. What the whole exoskeleton and everything that's coming out,
Mhm.
like
Looks painful.
it does look painful. Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that on this
Mhm.
hangout,
Um,
like
it's one of those things. It's not something I necessarily was keeping to myself. It's just it never came up.
yeah, well, like we don't tend to talk a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
about, anything other than
Mhm.
anime
Yeah. Yeah.
necessarily.
Mhm.
So, it's I really love this because I feel like I get to know more
Mhm.
people in the world and,
Mhm.
like
Oh, yeah.
like you,
Yeah.
and like I feel like we're not just Google Plus friends, we're
Yeah.
anime friends.
Mhm.
Like, if you ever need something,
Of
you
course.
can
Like
message me,
likewise.
So, speaking
Yeah.
of anime, by the way,
Yeah.
have you caught up on Parasite?
Yes, I'm caught up on Parasite.
Oh my god, the last episode was amazing.
It was good. It got a it got a little action heavy for my taste.
Mhm.
We tend to be different in that sense. You love the action. I tend to tune out of it during the action scenes. unless they're doing something really creative, like that chase scene in the last episode in 22 of Bebop.
For
This one,
the only thing I was gonna say for me and why I really liked it is because now it's getting that like confrontation.
okay, they're definitely
That's
building to
that's
the
what I really
war.
like.
Yeah,
Not so much the action. The action
yeah.
is whatever for me, but
Mhm.
it's really the psychological confrontation part that's really interesting.
They're building toward just to explain for anybody else who might be trying to follow along. The is it Himurama, is that his name? Hirama? Hirama, the cop who is
Yeah,
Shinichi's been talking to,
yeah,
is basically set up to start the war against the parasites now.
yeah. Hmm.
And they've brought in the killer from the last episode, which I was very happy about because I like him. Not like him, but I like him as a character. I like having him in the mix.
Yeah, he makes
He's very
really
interesting.
interesting. He makes an interesting element into
Yeah.
the story.
And I
Absolutely.
loved the explanation for how he can tell the parasites from humans.
Oh, that creeped me out.
He doesn't have the ability that Kana has. It's
No.
just that he's killed enough people that he to learn human nature well enough to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, that creeped me out
Mhm.
actually a little bit. Yeah. But it was definitely a good episode. I
Mhm.
thought it continues to add to the story and it's definitely making more intense,
And there's
uh,
only like
just
6 or 7
oncoming
episodes left,
struggle.
so
Sorry?
and there's only a handful of episodes left, so
Yes.
this is
Yes.
it's coming to that boil.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm really interested in seeing
Yeah.
is how is this going to play out? You
Hmm.
know, especially now that they have this X-ray machine that's
Hmm.
looking at the people that are coming
That was
through.
I
So
loved that
how is
part.
it going to play out?
Yeah, they have this
Um,
bit of technology where if they had to bring this building full of people out
mhm.
to basically figure out who the parasites were because Migi couldn't quite tell and the killer couldn't tell. So they have this X-ray machine that can basically distinguish human parts from alien or parasite parts. They've never established if they're aliens. Actually, I don't think.
Right.
Um, so they have to bring them out in groups of like 7 and show them on the monitor. And if if there's any part of them that isn't there on the monitor, it's a parasite, which I
Yeah.
love because you see a woman in this group who has no head. Let's say they show the skeleton without a head.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're gonna definitely see something
Mhm.
interesting from here. I like the
And
cliffhangers that they leave you on in Parasite. That's
mhm.
my main thing that I really like.
I
Um,
would
and
love to see
uh,
Goro or Goto in
go
that
to
X-ray machine, just to see
yeah,
how much human is left.
right. That's gonna be interesting. I wonder if we get to that.
Mhm.
We'll see
Yeah,
next week.
uh-huh. There's
So
also another series I've been watching. It's
mhm.
not a new series; it's new to me. Um, Chaos Head.
Yeah, you told me about that.
And this is recently I got into this. Actually, started watching it I think a year or two ago. I watched the first couple of episodes and then just kind of got sidetracked. And now I've gotten back to it. I was
Mhm.
interested in Steins Gate, which I'm sure we'll cover at some point.
Yes,
And
yes.
and Chaos Head is the predecessor to Steins Gate. It's set in the same universe, and they share a
Oh,
couple of
really?
characters. I think. Yeah, it takes place before Steins Gate.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So maybe I should check it out.
I definitely recommend it. The art style. It's basically about this otaku borderline hikikomori who is they don't specify what he has. He's mentally ill, possibly schizophrenic.
Uh-huh.
He has hallucinations, and he gets an email from someone called the General, which sh- contains a photograph of a murder that happens the next day.
Oh, cool.
And
That's
uh,
interesting.
I can't think of Takumi. That's his name.
Uh,
The otaku can't tell what's real and what's not at this point because he got this email from the future and he's having these visions of this woman with this giant sword who's walking around and no one else can see the sword.
wow. Okay,
And,
cool.
and
I
it's
should.
a whole what's real and what's not real. Very Satoshi Kon in that sense.
Yeah, yeah,
Also,
yeah.
the art style is very much very 90s, very kind of blocky, but the
Mhm.
story is brilliant.
Cool. I'll check it out. As far as other stuff that I'm watching, I'm finishing up Alabama Zero. I just did the next episode. It's getting better.
Okay.
They're definitely making Slain the like dark, evil something, whatever. And now the princess has just woken up. Woo. So, but it's getting better. It's more interesting. Now there's actually a fight that is happening that makes more sense versus the previous, which I didn't get. So but yeah, that's kind of it right now. It's been a crazy week.
Yeah.
So, hey,
So
next episode or next hangout.
next week, slight change of plans next week.
Yes. So our next hangout is going to be on Fooly Cooly, and it's in honor of John's birthday.
My birthday's on Wednesday. Fooly Cooly, not just my favorite anime, but my favorite piece of media. I'm absolutely in love with it. I've probably seen it more than 20 times. Between November of 2013 and last July, I saw it 11 times.
Wow.
Watched it a weekend before Thanksgiving to compare the dub and the sub, and then 3 times while my podcast Zombie Takeout was on break for the 3 weeks we took off for Christmas and New Year's. And then I did a monthly viewing up until July. August, I started the monthly viewing, got through the first episode, and just enjoyed it well enough. Just didn't feel like keep continuing. I kind of oversaturated, so this will be my first time watching it since then. I've been
Nice.
pre-gaming a bit, so and it's whetting my appetite. Um,
Awesome.
One thing I will say, and I'll post some links to a trailer and a couple of reviews from Arcata and from Gig UK. Do you watch him at all on YouTube?
Yes, love
Anime
him.
Zone, I love him too. I'll
Mhm.
post their reviews. They may be a little spoilery, but for Fully Cooley, it's worth it. I think you want to be a little prepared for what's going to happen here.
Yeah, definitely. I
Well,
think 'cause we haven't watched anything like it,
you
so
were watching it recently. We talked about this, and you said you got up to episode 3. Did you
yeah.
finish it?
No, I haven't finished it yet.
You stopped at 3.
Held
Okay.
off because well, we started doing this, and then
Mhm.
I just haven't
You never
come
got back to it.
back.
Uh, Episode 4 is where I finally figured it all out, so it'll be
Ooh,
interesting. Where I finally figured out what it's
cool.
really about. Uh,
Nice. That's awesome.
so, like I said, I'll post some stuff about it. One thing I'll say going in, I recommend watching the dub. I
Yes.
recommend watching it in English because they westernize a couple of the references and it helps some of the jokes land better.
Right.
Like they change a reference from, in the Japanese it was Cheerio, a Japanese soda, to Crystal Pepsi.
Ah, I getcha.
Uh-huh. So it'll be
Well,
really interesting to see. Thank you for indulging me with this. It'll be really
no, of
interesting to see
course,
people's
of course.
reactions to it.
Yeah, of course. So on that note, I have to get going, but
Okay.
thank you for coming and hanging out.
Mhm.
And
Again, sorry for the John show during the technical difficulties. I'll put a note on that one, just
not
saying
at
like don't
all.
bother watching it after Christina disappears.
No, 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 not at all. Don't even say that. No, I really appreciate that you took over for that because I all of a sudden my computer just went goodbye. So I hope you have a really awesome weekend and
Likewise.
see you next week.
All right, very good. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.